Good Wednesday evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night edition of Weather Warriors. I'm Chief Meteorologist Todd Warren here in the NBC6 Forecast Center, coming to you live streaming on the KTAL Now app, as well as my Facebook page, Todd Warren Weather, as well as on the YouTube channel of KTAL News. TV as today we did see again lots of heat once again, but thanks to some higher clouds, it wasn't as hot as it has been. 101 the high temperature this afternoon in both Shreveport as well as in Texarkana. 102 degrees the high temperature in Marshall. Yesterday, you might recall Marshall and Longview made it to 106. Hot spots coming in from DeQueen and Idabel, both checking in with a high temperature this afternoon at 104 degrees. We did see, again, the high clouds and pretty good sunset this evening as the camera in Shreveport. I was driving back to work this evening and saw the time lapse is going to be gorgeous tonight. Well, the camera had frozen just as the sun was setting, but we did capture a good sunset in Marshall. I'll share that during the news tonight at 9 and 10, and you can see still a little bit of color there at the Walter B. Jacobs Nature Center. Coming up tonight, looking at the heat hanging tough. Well, now, it's not going to be as hot as it was yesterday and the day before, although it will be close, but it's going to hang tough for at least another week. Burn ban update. Did we see any additions today? There's only a handful of counties and parishes which are not under burn ban. I'll let you know if we had some more issued today. The tropics, as we're getting closer to the peak of tropical season, it looks like we could see a little bit more action here in the next couple of weeks, although there's still not much model agreement. I've looked at this graphic for 50 times now, and I just saw the misspelling. Long range pattern flip. When I actually typed that out, it looked like we might see a bit of a change in the weather pattern, but things have changed. But nonetheless, update on the 2-week rainfall potential. And again, it is looking more encouraging that we'll see some rain here, both for some of you tomorrow and for most of us Friday and possibly Saturday. And I'll share the details on that. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, have a question or a comment, feel free to ask away. If you just want to say hello, Todd, that's great too. You can see some of the hellos coming in on the bottom of the screen there. First to do that was Brian. Hello there, Brian. Hopefully you had a nice evening there where you are. Betty, hello there in Union County. Hopefully Mom is doing better. Lewis, good evening to you. Nita says good evening. Hello there, Nita. Jeff, watching on YouTube in Cambridge, Ohio. Hello there, Jeff. Nice to have another viewer who watches on Facebook up there in Lima, Ohio. So a lot of Ohio. I don't know if you know this, but I used to work in Cincinnati 20 years ago. Anyway, Rusty, good evening to you. Hopefully you're having a nice evening. My fingers are crossed as tight as they could be crossed there, Rusty, for that rain. We need it. I know Jeff has gotten quite a bit up there in Ohio here in the last couple of past week or so. Aaron in Wright City, Oklahoma, hello to you. And Jeff says he got some rain there in Cambridge. All right. I'll try to take it. Whereabouts is that in Ohio, Jeff? It doesn't ring a bell for the counties that I used to cover in Cincinnati, so I don't think it's in Southwest Ohio. Of course, it was 25 years ago. Rooster says it's hot. Rooster, I'm going to actually show you that right now. I would right off the top tell you no, but the models are spitting out quite a few spin-ups here in the tropics over the next couple of weeks, and I'll show you the details on that. I saw, Rooster, where Fort Walton Beach radar indicated upwards 6-7 inches there, so a lot of rain there in the panhandle of Florida. Eric says now 93 degrees in Colbert, Oklahoma, west of the ArkLaTex, and he had 105 degrees this afternoon. Ugh, that's hot. I'm glad Betty says Mom had a good day today. I'm glad to hear that, Betty. Renee, hello to you. Do I think we'll have any severe weather? It's highly unlikely. Obviously, when the temperature is as hot as it's going to be, it can't be totally ruled out. We could see some gusty winds with if we do see some storms, but anything organized as far as severe thunderstorms, highly unlikely is what it looks like right now. And Jeff has responded and said Southeast Ohio. All right, keep that in mind, Jeff. I don't have any model data that goes that far southeast. I do have Lima in my system here. I usually check it for Chris when she chimes in from there. Betty says, thank you. You're quite welcome, Betty. All right, let's move on. Lots to talk about tonight as usual, and you can see the weather pattern. And Jeff, you can see the rain up there in Ohio as Indiana is just, this part of the country is being pounded with the rainfall. And you've probably seen the flooding along the White River there in excuse me, in Indiana, and they're getting pounded with more thunderstorms now. You can see the upper level ridge here over the Four Corners. This is what is still extending back to the south and east, and what is going to keep us hot. Now we do have this little weakness here, this little ripple, which is going to be floating across. That's what's going to give a little push to a frontal boundary, which is going to ease through, or at least into, parts of the ArkLaTex here in the next couple of days. You can see the severe weather issues mainly over the eastern seaboard, extending into the southeastern sections of the country. Here in the upper Midwest, from Minneapolis down to central Nebraska. Another shot for some severe weather tomorrow. Not going to see any here. To answer your question there, Renee, you can see a marginal risk to the east of us, so it's doubtful that we'll see any here. And then heading through Friday, their front stays to our north, but you can see the thunderstorms that develop along it could make their way to the south during the day on Friday into our area. And you can see more action up to the north of us. And Futurecast actually shows some in here for Saturday as well. So a bit more coverage of the rainfall and a little bit closer to the ArkLaTex than we've seen here recently. And Jeff, it looks like this last front is going to make it to you Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. And that should cool you off some and dry you out some too, and that's good news for parts of the Ohio Valley. Jada says, fingers crossed for rain in Texarkana. All right, everybody cross their fingers. we're to that point. I think I mentioned last night my Tempest rain gauge has only received a trace of rain so far in August, even though we had those storms up, was the weekend before last, and they just went all around me. I got just a few sprinkles. Aaron says, I checked once, 104. A friend said he had 109 there in Wright City. That's pretty hot there, Aaron. And Jeff says in Ohio, they don't need any more rain. Well, hopefully that stuff will miss you to the south. Get to this weekend, Jeff. You are looking drier up there. All right, let's talk about closer to home here. And you can see the ArkLaTex take you through the nighttime hours tonight. Does show quite a bit of higher level moisture, which is what we've seen here, which helped with the temperatures for most of us today. And you can see the ArkLaTex does hint at a little bit of rain over the northern edge of the area by early morning tomorrow. Futurecast not showing that, but notice it does show, again, a little bit of rain up towards Batiste that kind of flirts with the northern sections of the ArkLaTex. So, Aaron, you might have a shot for some rain tomorrow. North of I-30 is where the chances probably will be highest tomorrow. And then moving through Friday, and you can see the additional chance of rain on Friday. Now, one thing I was going to say before I push the button here is that the ArkLaTex does show that stuff developing up north tomorrow, lasting longer and maybe making it to I-20. So it is possible we could see some rain as far south as Shreveport tomorrow evening. We'll see. But you can see a little bit more coverage on Friday, although this run of Futurecast not as aggressive as the one I showed during the early newscast. You can see a mostly clear sky Friday night. And again, a scattering of showers will again be possible on Saturday. At any one location, I would put the chances probably somewhere between 10 and 20%. So probably won't see any rain, but we can all keep our fingers crossed, right? Let's see. Brian says, just curious, what's Norm's temp today? I don't know off the top of my head. Just a second, Brian. I can tell you what the model said it was going to be, I think. Let me see. It looks like around 110. Actually, one from this morning said 102. And the other said 109, so somewhere below 110. He was hot. But actually, he might have been a little bit cooler than we were, I think, which is also within the realm of possibility. Let's see, Jeff. Jeff says he's in the 70s now up there in Ohio. So forget about what I said about cooling off, Jeff. You don't need any help doing that. Aaron says he'll take the rain. And Brian says, I agree, that's hot. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the 4-day period here with Futurecast. Dry Saturday night, and then heading through Sunday. You can see the sunshine, which will return, as will probably be dry Sunday through Wednesday. Might see some hope towards the end of next week for some more rain. All right, let's switch to grain of salt time, and they're going to take you out 2 weeks. This is the loop of the last 12 hours, and Rooster, this is where you'll see the details on what's ahead in the tropics. And you can see that we do have a disturbance coming off of Africa here tomorrow. Still no outlook from the Hurricane Center as to any development in the next week. However, one of the models that you'll see here that I'll show you does show some. You can see the wind shear. Again, this tends to work to limit, not totally stop, but limit the amount of development with these tropical systems. So you can see where that is located out here, right where that stuff, the lows come off of Africa and start to develop, could get ripped apart and prevented from developing. So let's take you out 2 weeks here, and you can see the yellow lines, pressure with the GFS, the red lines, pressure from the European. You can see the GFS does develop something, tries to get it going by this weekend, and notice that it really does develop it. European not showing a thing. So will this happen? Probably not. Notice another one coming off of Africa. Again, this goes back to what I said at the beginning, that we're probably going to see more action in the Atlantic basin as far as the tropics are concerned. So you can see this first one, the GFS does have it graze the Windward Islands and then move into the far western Atlantic. The European really develops the second one, where the GFS doesn't. So not a whole lot of model agreement between the two. The GFS really cranks up the first one. And you can see how this will, again, we don't have two storms here. Actually, we do, I guess you could say. It's just that they're two different disturbances. One develops one and one model develops the other. So again, that is common. So why also explains why we do not have anything so far from the Hurricane Center on an outlook. But you can see how much that low cranks up from the GFS as we close out this 2 week period. And again, we'll see this one not really make it to the Gulf. Doesn't look like anything in the Caribbean. Notice we didn't see anything like that here in the Caribbean or Gulf. So we're going to stay quiet as we move out of August into September. And again, the second week of September is usually the peak of hurricane season. Jeff says, laugh out loud. If you want to send some of those 70s, daytime 70s down here, Jeff, we'll more than happily trade you if you'd want. Anyway, let's take a look at Saharan dust here. And again, we have seen a decrease in this during the last week or so, and that is probably going to continue, so no issues with the Saharan dust. Let's move out 2 weeks here with the weather upper level pattern across the country, and you can see the big ridge across the west. Again, you can see the storminess beginning to shift more to the south and east. Jeff, it looks like you're going to stay quiet, more quiet, less stormy, and pleasant this weekend here at home. The ridge does build back towards the east. That's going to shut off the rain starting on Sunday, and it's also going to keep the high temperatures in the triple digits. It would shock me if some places hit 105. Possibly tomorrow. You'll see that in my forecast here in a second. And you can see that ridge will retreat back to the west late next week. And just as could happen this week, we might see some hope for some rain again late during the last half of next week. Let's switch to week 2 of the 2 weeks here. And you can see the ridge. Notice how we're starting to see less orange on this map, especially across the northern, say, third of the country, as the ridge is starting to get a little bit weaker. And that process will continue now late in the 2 week period as we head into September. This particular run of the European does try to build it back over the plain. So what this means is end of next week, we might see a bit of an uptick. And then as we move into the beginning of the following week, we could see, again, any hope of rain decline once again. So I'm somewhat hopeful that the rainfall numbers that you'll see for the next 2 weeks, you might... you look at the range, but we're probably going, instead of at the low end, probably going to be somewhere in the middle of that when we get to it. All right, let's move on to burn bans across the ArkLaTex, and no additions today. Again, we only have 3 parishes in Louisiana, 4 in Texas, Little River, and McCurtain County left. So I still think we'll see some additions here in the next couple of days, depending on the rain that we get over the next couple of days. Here's Futurecast and its depiction of rainfall. And you can see the coverage, nothing down towards Manny and Natchitoches. The green here is 1 inch. So Futurecast thinks that we might see a few isolated spots pick up 1 inch, which is possible if we see these things moving slowly enough and they develop decently. Compare that with the afternoon run of the ACE-RRR. You can see it does show some dark blues, which is 1/2 inch. So again, there is the high-res models are showing some locations possibly getting that 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain, something to keep your fingers crossed for. Take you out a week. This is generally what you should expect. And again, what I just showed you is what you should hope for, right? The 1/2 inch, given how dry it is. You can see the 10th over most of the area. These lighter blues, that's 1/4 from the Weather Prediction Center, and higher amounts there in northeast Louisiana. Take you out 10 days here. This will take us through into next weekend. Model blend showing almost all of the area getting less than 1/4 inch, and maybe a few spots getting that 1/4 to 1/2 inch here over the eastern half of northwest Louisiana. Take you out 2 weeks here with rainfall. Again, at these locations from north to south here in the ArkLaTex, the low number is what you might say should expect, although take the second highest number, okay? I think we're going to get more than 1/10 in Shreveport. So you might say the range in DeQueen in the next 2 weeks, 1/2 inch to 1 inch, Texarkana 1/3 to maybe 1 inch, Shreveport 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and Natchitoches 1/2 inch to maybe 1 inch and 1/4. And notice a couple of the models showing that inch possibility in Natchitoches. So these numbers, over the last couple of days, we've seen a very subtle increase in the numbers that the models have been showing going out 2 weeks. That could be a function of the going deeper into September and the ridge becoming weaker, but still, we'll take what we can get. Renee says, what did you say, Renee? You said Little River County got added to the burn ban list today. I checked that numerous times, Renee. Thanks for letting me know. But it's not on the forestry website yet, so until I see, I have to confirm it. But again, I'll look for that tomorrow. But again, I'll maybe mention that that you were added today on the air tonight. All right, as far as the temperatures for the next few weeks, you can see the European ensembles. Of the 2 sets of ensembles, I think this is the most accurate. You can see 103, 104. It's going to stay very hot. A little bit cooler this weekend. Maybe a little bit too cool Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But notice that the European ensembles actually have us below normal almost 2 weeks from now. 93 for the high on September, what would that be, 1st? Not bad. We'll take it. And you can see the overnight lows maybe easing into the middle 70s. This is what we should hope for. This is what we should not hope for. You can see the GFS ensembles, as they have been all summer, running a bit hotter than the European ensembles. Do I think we're going to make it to 107 Friday and Sunday? No, we're not. I can almost guarantee that. But you can see the trend there after the peak early next week. It does go down, but by not quite as much. Overnight lows settling into the middle 70s. All right, let's take a look at the forecast. It is getting close to 8:50, and you can see tonight is looking mostly clear with some high clouds around the area. 79 degrees in Texarkana, 79 as well in Idabel, 79 in Mount Pleasant, also 79 degrees in Magnolia. Upper 70s for the most part across East Texas and Northwest Louisiana. We'll see 80 degrees in Shreveport, 79 in Marshall, 77 degrees in Natchitoches. And tomorrow, chance for the rain across the northern parts of the region. Put it at 20% there. 103 in DeQueen, same thing in Idabel, 102 in Texarkana. In Shreveport, also right around 102, 103 degrees. Notice, I don't expect any rain during the day tomorrow. If we get some rain East Texas, Northwest Louisiana, it's going to be dying, and it's going to be during the evening hours. So back to the triple digits for most of us again tomorrow. And then 10-day forecast shows that we will see temperatures stay above the century mark through next Wednesday. Overnight lows will stay in the upper 70s, but we will cool down a little bit into the upper 90s Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Small chance of rain. Those 10s could go up as we get closer. Right now, not convinced for the most part. Overnight lows could ease into the middle 70s during that time frame. Let's see. Eric says Bryan County, Oklahoma Western is on the burn ban list. All right, appreciate that, Eric. You mentioned that a couple of days ago as well. So that will officially do it for me tonight. But of course, before I go, I have to send you away with my little attempt at humor. And as is tradition, Big B has timed his arrival just in time for the joke. So here we go. I was going to tell the one I told on Dan and Jackie's show, but I think I'll save that for you later. Anyway, I was talking to Big B earlier today, and I told him that I watched someone do 100 push-ups straight all together. Big B says, Todd, do you think you could do that? I said, certainly I could do that. I could watch someone do 200 push-ups. And that will officially do it for me tonight, folks. Thanks as always for tuning in. I do appreciate everyone watching on the KTAL Now app, as well as on Facebook, on my Facebook page, Todd Warm Weather, and of course, now the YouTube channel from KTAL News. Jeff, you stay cool up there in Ohio, and everyone out there watching, stay cool as well. I'll be back tomorrow night with another live update. Tomorrow night, I will have an update from the EPS 6-week outlook concerning rain. I've been doing that every Monday and Thursday when that data comes out. So I'll give you an update on the rain relative to normal and exactly how much we could be looking at. So again, that's what's coming up tomorrow night. So until then, have a great Wednesday night. Have a great Thursday. If you're out and about tomorrow or any time during the next week or so, be sure to stay cool. Good night.